Now, when it comes to spending money, is Easter the new Christmas? Online retailers are reporting a surge in demand, and it is far more than the usual chocolate eggs. Think themed decorations, candles, even artificial trees. Yes, Easter trees. They have long been popular in Sweden and Germany, where bare tree branches are decorated with painted eggs and feathers. And the trend is now spreading. How else? Social media, of course. Well, let's speak to Kate Hardcastle about all of this, a consumer trends expert who runs the consultancy Insight with Passion. Kate, good to see you. I see you've got your Easter decorations on the shelf there behind you. What sort of things are people buying in particular?
Thanks. Yes, I've tried to do my bit. It really is a time for people to have a focus on a celebration, something positive. So we're seeing a huge uplift in all types of Easter decor and indeed gifting. We've gone way beyond the eggs here. This is uplifting toys, and the idea, I think, that perhaps a lot of families are going to be able to get back together for the first time and maybe making almost another Christmas of it. We're hearing a lot of families are talking about trying to recreate some kind of Christmas festival dinner outside. Even an uplift here in the UK on something called pigs in blankets, which is like a sausage delicacy that's served with a Christmas meal. There's an uplift for search on that item because people are wanting to try and recreate Christmas. I think Easter's hit a perfect sweet spot, and I mean that completely pun intended, in that we've seen over the last year many of us stay at home, work at home, and therefore we've invested in things like furniture and home decor. So the idea that Easter is going to have a more lavish look in our home is certainly on trend as we shop more emotionally, and we're looking for something very positive to be able to celebrate.
Is this trend coming from consumers by itself? Are they just deciding, well, they fancy treating themselves, spending a bit more because they haven't been spending on holidays and vacations and so on? Or is it a push by retailers, do you think?
I think it's absolutely both. Retailers, of course, are doing absolutely everything they can to try and stimulate sales using different techniques, particularly a lot through social media over the last 12 months, where they're trying to build relationships with consumers and suggest things to them. So this idea that Easter must become more of an event is as driven by retailers as consumers who are susceptible to it. Of course, consumers are getting savvier and smarter. They really are the tail wagging the dog now when it comes to consumer trends. But they too have been looking for things to be able to lighten the mood, bring some joy back. And as I say, we do shop emotionally. So when we're thinking about trying to find a positive focus, an upbeat mood, we do look to festivals to be able to create a bit more of a fuss. I think what's really interesting here is this is another celebration, just like Halloween, that's seen huge amount of money for retail in different territories. In the UK alone, now worth over £2 billion is Easter. So it really is a significant event for retailers.
Significant event this time round, Kate. But do you think that's just because of this pent-up need to buy and spend because people have perhaps been doing less of that because of the lockdowns? Or do you think this kind of consumer event around Easter is here to stay and will endure for years to come?
I think consumers are feeling that it's time that they go out and try and celebrate being together, having more special occasions from home, trying to even make the home look a little bit different when we've all been within the same four walls for so long. But I think also Easter probably is a calendar occasion now which will continue to grow. We've seen a dip in things that are seen as temporary, and that could fit into ecological, environmental trends, things like cards. But we've seen an uplift in terms of gifting and decor. I think what's also interesting as well is last year Easter was just at a point where everyone was trying to adjust and get around their heads around the idea of a lockdown. So actually Easter egg sales, the confectionery, was very low last year. A lot of people were seeing eggs being resold for months after the occasion. I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think people are seeing it as a mark, as particularly in certain areas where we're seeing vaccinations start to come to really good figures and people are feeling a little bit more joyful. They're able to pin that celebration on something like an event.
I suppose, Kate, a lot of the specialist retailers that would normally be able to capitalise on something like this by getting people through their doors are the kinds of non-essential shops, like card shops, like gift shops, that haven't been able to open. How much of selling online around Easter can they use to recoup the losses that they've lost from their physical stores? Is it enough?
We've seen certainly a significant shift in movement online, which means that the traditional bricks and mortar stores are going to have to work so much harder to try and tempt people back into spending. Even when people do start to emerge into those physical stores, there will be a very different process to shopping. It will be very clinical. People want to spend minimal amount of time there. As we start to reawaken and re-emerge, safety has to be first, and therefore it's very hard to encourage what we call dwell time, the idea of spending more in stores because we feel that we've got more time to be there and feel comfortable in doing so. It's such a critical time for non-essential retail as well, because they haven't been able to open. And we've definitely seen organisations, the retailers like the supermarkets, the DIY stores, take full advantage of their Easter displays. So they've certainly been able to take advantage of that trend. But what's really interesting is the way that social media is becoming a real place for selling. We're seeing retailers interacting with consumers there and being quick to react to any trends with products and having conversation with consumers. So I think any period where we can bring the idea of selling additional items to a consumer that might be hungry for something new and different is going to be important for those non-essential retailers.
OK, Kate Hardcastle, thank you very much indeed.